Eyelight, second demo that we're doing. It's a little more chaotic, as you can see. We have some like effects happening behind Haley here. Now, I've set up, we have two lights. We have a backlight that is with our effect on it. That's an LED panel high up. And then we have a like older tungsten unit that's bouncing into this reflector here. So, and then I also took off some spill on the ground so it's black so that we're not getting any of the bounce back up at her face, because I wanted to make it quite moody, because it's not always going to be beauty light and it's not always going to be very like cut and dry, very cookie cutter simple to detect where your eyelight is or how to work with eyelight. So I want to start this process by talking about with Haley. Talk to me as an actor about how you would analyze, they brought you in, it's lit, it's a dramatic scene, maybe you're discovering someone, they've taken someone out of a house, and like they're in front of you now, and you can't believe something happened or something, you know, but yeah. And, you know, the cop cars are still on the street, things like that. Talk about, you sit into this, what are you thinking about lighting-wise and darkness-wise?
I'm wondering if I turn in a certain direction, am I completely in shadow? That's definitely a question, because I think as much as it's dark and moody, you don't want your face to be completely in shadow. I'm also wondering if there is an eyelight that I should be using, because I know it's probably not the police cars, because they're flashing, and eyelight is usually a pretty stationary situation, but also the only light that's holding still is this one, and it's behind my head. So if I stepped into this set, I would say, oh, they may wait till I get into my spot to set up an eyelight.
And what if I told you this is done, this is our look?
I would be confused, because I would say, oh, either I have no eyelight, or I should ask.
And where would your eyeline be normally? Where would you feel?
My eyeline would be...
Camera's here, we're in a close-up. Maybe, you know, for this film, we do a little more interesting framing, so we short side you, meaning we're putting you on right of frame looking left, so there's a lot of negative space behind you and around your head. Where would your eyeline gravitate towards if you didn't have that conversation?
If I wasn't having the conversation, I would probably initially put my eyes out and down, but I would still not know exactly, you know, depending on where my mark was, I'm facing this way, I'd probably put them here.
Let's take a look at that. So show me naturally, can you walk into the room?
Yeah.
And we'll walk in and I'll tell you where to sit. Okay. And then find an eyeline.
Okay.
All right, so we've set up the whole scene. All right, Haley, let's bring you in. Great. Dead body's over here.
Okay.
So could you sit over here, please?
Sitting, sure. It's here?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me on an angle?
Yes, okay. That would be great. 3/4 to camera.
Okay.
Perfect. That's great. Okay. Yeah. And that feels great to me.
Okay.
So the thing here, right, is you don't know where your highlight is to start. But the brightest part of our frame currently is this reflector in our like wide that we wouldn't actually be using as like a shoot. But this is providing an highlight. So contrary to what we've been talking about where it's a point source or it's like a source of light that is your highlight, instead it's the reflector here, the silk. And so what I've done, if you want the context of it, is we've taken something pretty sourcey, this like big bright light, you know, and without it, it would have been too moody because you're not getting any definition on your face at all.
Yeah.
So we added something, we're losing a lot of light around, but we're getting a lot of the softness here, getting a really big, huge, beautiful highlight.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is kind of incredible to me that from that light back there, it's reflecting off of this into my eyes and then reflecting from my eyes into the camera.
Yeah. And can we look let's look if you cheat towards camera more in this case. Great. So we pretty much lose all of your highlight. One side of your face is completely dark. The other one is getting a little of that highlight. But if we want to cheat and kind of create like a natural pushback where you were, yeah, we're getting both fantastic highlight there. So let's punch in on that with a tighter lens and take a look at exactly how big that highlight looks. We're punching in now on a tighter lens. We're on 100, before we were on a 40. And as you can see, we can really start to tell how big that highlight is. It's close to her, but because it's so soft, you wouldn't expect it to be like a point source that's going to be an highlight, but it's really filling her eyes nicely. So Haley, can you show me a few different emotions so we can see how easy it is to read in the dark? Happiness? You're like wicked and you're happy.
Evil happiness.
Yeah. Exactly. So because we have this highlight, like if I were to move this, perfect. So I've actually now made it more of a point source in your eyes. So that's where when we were talking in the Q&A about kind of it getting a little distracting sometimes, this is a way in which it might get distracting. And it's funny because you probably don't even, can you tell a difference?
It would be, for me as an actor, less distracting.
Yeah.
Because it's farther behind me.
Yeah.
Like I would not even notice it was there. I would think it was like supposed to be giving me some like highlight or something.
Yeah.
But it's more distracting in my eyes for the audience.
Yes. Yeah. And
Wild.
yeah, so currently that's when we're talking about it needs two different angles. It has to come from camera to your eye and then from source to your eye. And that's what we're reflecting back. So this is not as natural. It's a little more like wicked and it's more backy. So that is kind of an example of how two different strengths of eye lights make a difference.
I do like to have a mark for my eyeline in case I can't remember what I was looking at before. Understanding where my highlight is coming from, though, is also helpful. Just to know that it's a tool that I can use. If I didn't know this was highlight, I wouldn't even think that I was, I wouldn't even think that my eyes were lit up. There are different choices I would make if I didn't know this were an highlight.
So what would be the different choices?
Emotionally, particularly when you're saying, give me evilness. In my head, I have a picture of what having a gleam in my eye while I'm grinning is going to do, instead of just like a dark, evil picture. So it feels like it's almost telling me that something is an highlight for me, kind of builds a little mini picture of the monitor in my head and helps me understand what it's supposed to feel like and look like a little bit better.
Okay, cool.